Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Agents of MACE. Today, we're getting you all ready for Wakanda Forever, which came out, I guess, technically it comes out today for us recording, but it will come out yesterday for you all listening to this. So it's already out. Go see it. Unfortunately, we still don't have a hookup at Disney or Marvel to get early release tickets or screenings or anything like that. So if you know anyone and you like our show, suggest our show to them, because that would be great. So instead of doing like an early review, we're going to kind of look back at where Wakanda is right now, and then also try to kind of pull apart some comics that may have been an influence on this film or storylines that may be popping up now. We already kind of know. I mean, I guess we don't know because it's Marvel. Like, the whole trailer could not be in the movie at all, and they could surprise us, and it could be a completely different thing. But from the trailer we've seen, we can kind of assume what the story is. But there are some cool things that I have recently read that I want to talk about, and then kind of hear what everyone's theories are and what's going to happen in this movie, because I'm super excited. It looks really cool. So let's
definitely
get into it. I guess we can talk about Black Panther first. It kind of... It's weird for me because I feel like Black Panther ended. And they wanted to do another Black Panther movie, but they were in the midst of trying to do Endgame and had to kind of push any thoughts of like second or third movies. They just had to push them back so far because Endgame was going to be such like a big thing.
Yeah. And plus, you know, with Chadwick's health, like, I'm very curious behind the scenes, like how much that factored in with certain things, you know, because that's why I watched this one earlier today, and I mean, it was very emotional. Like, I'm just such a huge fan of like his work and just hearing about his just attitude towards it, like how transparent he was, and it was just, you know, just how he just stayed positive through it all. And you can, even going from Black Panther into Endgame, you can clearly see the physical changes he was going through.
Right.
But yeah, I'm very curious to see, like, I'm trying to like avoid anything Wakanda Forever, like on this kind of level. But once I see it, I definitely want to go in to see, you know, how much did he play into like some of the story, if anything, you know, if what decisions may have been changed based off of, you know, his passing and all that. But
well, and even just like how much of Wakanda Forever was either written or planned or thought about and maybe kept for this version that we're going to get, or if like they were just like, hey, we know we want to do another Black Panther, we'll deal with it when we get there. And then Chadwick passed and Marvel started doing a lot more like newer stuff and expanding more into like the female heroes, and maybe then they were like, well, we could still continue Black Panther. We'll have Shuri take over and continue that way. And then they were just like, let's just do a Shuri Black Panther, and this is all like brand new, well, new in like movie terms. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if this movie has legs, I guess, is the way to describe what I'm getting at. Like, if this movie's gonna lead us into another movie, or if this movie is going to be a sort of like one-off movie and then we won't get it again, or
yeah, they could go. I mean, you got to look. They could go different ways here. I mean, it could set up. How is this? Is it setting up simply Phase 5? Because we know this is, you know, Wakanda Forever is going to close out Phase 4. So Is this going to be more of that conclusion into Phase 4? Is it going to conclude anything specifically to Black Panther? What's it opening up to? Thinking about along those terms, it makes me think about like the Spider-Man More Fun edition, because that was kind of in a way a conclusion. And have you seen that one yet? Really need to see it because it's surprisingly deep, like deeper than most people are going to probably see it at the end of what they do.
Interesting.
But
so does it have like a completely different ending?
It's got like a different. I can't remember if it was an ending or like a like the new like post credit scene.
Oh, okay.
But it's like I initially just kind of viewed it in one way, and then when you sit and think about it and you look at the details of it, it's pretty deep and it's kind of sad, and it's kind of like an interesting way to kind of close things out as well as open up to where things are about to go.
Right.
For Spider-Man. So the question is will Black Panther do something similar?
Well, this kind of leads into the two comics that I wanted to talk about. I just finished one, like literally yesterday. And the other one I read a little bit ago. But both of them I feel like have things that, like if you were to just read the baseline description for like what this comic is, you'd be like, that sounds like this movie. So the first one is the New Avengers. It seems like if maybe this movie was intended for T'Challa Black Panther, that this would kind of be what they would have pulled from. But it would have almost made more sense if this had come out before Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Although maybe right after would have been interesting too. But essentially, New Avengers picks up after Namor has used the Phoenix Force, which like I know we couldn't use that because we haven't even introduced X-Men yet, but he has the Phoenix Force and he destroys part of Wakanda. And so that's where we pick up, and it kind of helps set the foundation for Namor and Black Panther's relationship. It also is what leads to, I guess, the group, the Illuminati. So, as we know, we saw the Illuminati in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, so it would have been cool to see, like, our universe getting to a point where we're like, we need to, like, set up this group of people that are there for the greater good. Yeah. So I could see bits and pieces of this being pulled to form a story that fits better in the MCU, but still pulls these things that we either already know about or could potentially lead to something later down the line. Because right now, I feel like they've got a lot to get through if they're introducing Namor and Atlantis in this movie. There's going to need to be some serious backstory going on.
Well, it's 2 hours and I think 41 minutes. So I feel like we'll get a good chunk of backstory there.
Yeah. They have the time to do it. It's just if they'll do it well, or if it will feel like too much backstory or not enough backstory. But I feel like there are so many moving parts in the MCU right now that seem to be in this movie as well. Like, we're getting new characters, old characters with like new powers or responsibilities, and also like one of the strongest nations on Earth is going through a crisis, but like, will that play into stuff later? There's just so many moving parts that could affect things down the line that, like, I hope that it's done well, and I hope that it's done in a way that like continues the story as opposed to being something like, I always feel bad because I don't want to like trash the Black Widow movie, but like, to me that movie just seems like a spin-off. Like they tried a spin-off movie and it didn't work, and so they just are leaving it alone. And I don't want this to be that, because there's too many like big important pieces in this for the future.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just how are they going to write a lot of this stuff in, if Wakanda is still going to appoint a king, who's going to come up to bats for that? Like how, it seemed like it was more of like bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
So are we going to still see the traditional battle? Like who's going to, battle to be our next leader?
Mm-hmm.
Or will all of that change?
Right. Like is Shuri being Black Panther in this movie telling us that from now on Shuri is going to be Black Panther, or is she just sort of taking the mantle for this movie and then we'll pass it on at the end of the movie?
Yeah. There was so much like setup with the very end of Black Panther. It almost feels like we could have used a series or two right after Black Panther, because like, they're finally opening up saying, world, this is us. Mm-hmm. We have Wakanda. We have all this technology. We're now ready to share it with you and start building trust and helping everyone move forward. Teaching you like, our technology and how to use it and how to better everything. Like, I want some series around that.
Mm-hmm.
Because them just doing that's opening up like someone's gonna come in there and try to like steal stuff, and there's like so much little cool side stories that have probably gone on that we're missing out on.
100%. And speaking of side stories and like the small parts that could potentially lead to like series. Mm-hmm. The other comic, the one that I just finished, is Doom War. Mm-hmm. And if you were to, again, this is one that if you just read the description of what Doom War is, you'd be like, that's Wakanda Forever. Like again, we don't know. Maybe Doctor Doom shows up. Probably not. But in Doom War, it basically starts with T'Challa, who has been like badly beaten and is trying to recover, is basically on the sideline, and he's going through like physical therapy. He's trying to like get his strength back, but there's like a doctor that keeps telling them like, hey, if he continues like this, he's going to die. So he's not able to be Black Panther. So they have to like pass on who's going to be Black Panther for the time. And it is Anika, I think I'm saying that right. And she takes the mantle. She's part of the Midnight Angels, which we know is, well, we don't know, but we know that there's an unnamed Dora Milaje series coming down the pipeline. We could assume that series will be called Midnight Angels and follow the Midnight Angels. Doom War is essentially talking about how this group of like elite Dora Milaje are pulled to be the Midnight Angels and battle Doctor Doom. So that is something that feels like this movie could be setting up. It could be setting up this elite group of Dora Milaje that are going out and fighting secret wars separately from the Dora Milaje that's just like there protecting Wakanda. Mm-hmm. And that could be the series that we get later on.
That would be really cool.
Which could play into Doctor Doom.
Yeah. Listeners, I still strongly feel we're going to see Doctor Doom. And I have to shout out like all of those that have already watched Wakanda Forever and have not spoiled anything. I appreciate it because I've seen quite a few one-liners and it's been like completely spoiler free. It's been very positive, but that would be really cool.
Something else that happens in that series that like I really hope comes into play is they kind of like make her a new Black Panther suit.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they explain is that the claws on the suit are adamantium coated vibranium claws. And I really hope that in this movie, whenever she's making her suit, they include that to just get us in the idea that adamantium exists, even if it's just like, hey, there's this new metal that we found and it's the strongest metal on Earth and we've coated the tips of your claws in it.
It's like stronger than vibranium.
Right. And it would be like, oh, we're slowly introducing.
I feel like they could do that. They've already, they've already revealed like mutants, are coming in. So like, yeah, that's no problem. I feel like they could do that. That would be a really fun little tease if they throw that in there.
Yeah, it just doesn't need to mean anything.
Got one other like little show I wish they would kind of make. And this is like just from watching like Black Panther earlier today, but having like a CIA agent involved with everything. I want like more of the little shorts, but I want like a debrief short. So like we're just focused around like the government that's kind of keeping an eye on and trying to help with everything. Mm-hmm. And they just kind of go in and debrief about what just happened. But I think that would be a fun little way to like add in more depth and layers to like what we've already seen, but reveal more of like either upcoming stuff or like this is really what the villain was doing.
Right.
Just seeing more.
I would like that. I mean, that's all I want from most of this is like, I know it would be so annoying to probably like 90% of the fans and population, but if every single day Marvel came out with a 30-minute show that just like furthered the lore of the Marvel universe, I would watch it and I would love it. And I would be like, I can't wait for tomorrow's episode. Like, that's all I want. So, Elisa.
That's what we need to do. They need to just bring us all in and we'll just create all these little show ideas that we got.
Yeah.
Like Bruce's Bar, like just a little sub-series.
Elisa, we were talking about some of the comics that they may be pulling from, and we did like a quick little thing about Black Panther, but now we're just kind of elaborating and guessing on like what could potentially come out of Wakanda Forever.
Oh.
And where we could be going. Is this leading to, we were talking about Doctor Doom. Is this leading to, we assume that this is leading to the Dora Milaje show. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. That would be weird if it didn't. But one thing that we haven't talked about is Riri Williams and her involvement in this. I think I mentioned last time, like I haven't read a bunch of Ironheart comics, so I don't know a lot about Ironheart. But the little that I do know is she's more tied to Tony Stark and working with Stark Tech. So I'm wondering if the Riri Williams we get in this is going to be like a reimagination of her and she's going to be from Wakanda.
Maybe.
It is possible.
Because I mean, she could be from America, and she's like in Wakanda on like a study abroad program or something. But
I guess
the world doesn't know about them,
right? Yeah, like what is going to be her involvement with Wakanda? I'm kind of going down the route of just this rebellious teenager who wants to get hands on tech and build stuff and probably steal something that they need back. And it's probably going to be some sort of like little side story within the main story.
Do you think she's going to come with her suit? Or do you think she's going to design and build her suit in this movie?
So that's the big question is like, will we see her create the suit, or will she just shows up already in a suit, and then it becomes like, well, who's this? It's kind of like going the Civil War, like Spider-Man just shows up and everyone's just like, who's this guy?
Right.
Maybe she has like kind of a suit, but she needs something in Wakanda to help power it. And so that could be her deal.
I like that.
Yeah, because the Spider-Man thing made sense, right? Like,
Yeah.
everybody knows Spider-Man's backstory. We've seen it 50 times.
Yeah.
We don't, like, they were just like, look, Spider-Man's here, okay? We're not going to do the whole, like, he got bit by a spider. We know.
You're not going to let us forget what comes with great power.
Right, exactly, yeah. Uncle Ben died, we get it. But for Riri, it's like, if she just shows up and is like, yeah, that's Riri Williams. She's Ironheart. Like, most people are going to be like, I don't know. What is that? What do you mean? That's Ironheart. So it's almost like, if they want to do that, but then Ironheart needs to come out relatively soon after this movie.
I think, this could be a really good tie-in with how Black Panther ended is Shuri was going to lead this science and technology division that Wakanda was going to bring into, the States. So I'm wondering if it's going to be like Riri's a student and she's learning all this stuff from Shuri, and maybe Shuri shows like some new tech and it's stuff that she needs. And so she ends up like basically like breaking in and stealing it to go finish her suit.
I like that. I'm all right with that. Or even if she like Shuri is building a suit.
Yeah.
For herself or something, and then Riri just happens to jump into it, and it like, I don't know, like sinks to her body or something.
Right. That's additional questions as well, as like, I'm pretty sure we've all seen at least one or two of the trailers, so we kind of know some things regarding a new Black Panther suit. So like, are we going to see that being created, or any kind of like what's going on there?
Or is it going to be like, I feel like Marvel gets away with a lot by just being like, it's nanotech. And it, like, I don't know. And that's fine. I'm fine with that. But it's like a convenience thing where they're just like, we don't have to explain the fact that she had to like sew another Black Panther suit. Instead, it was like, no, they're nanobots. They just reformed to be a suit for her body instead.
It's like, even, and this is one piece I had to like rewatch again from the first Black Panther was like, he's like, it's not broke, don't fix it, right? His old original Black Panther suit works fine. Like he's like, I don't need all this new tech. And then I was like, couldn't remember like in the end if he like had to use that suit again, but no, he still had one of the newer ones.
Yeah. Yeah. And like we don't know like what happened to Killmonger's suit.
Yeah, that's another question is, will we see anything regarding what happens there? Like, because even, we know that he takes him to see like the sunset and they have their last final conversation, but, do they give him like any sort of burial or like, what do they kind of do there?
And then we also like, I feel like Black Panther set it up, I think, more than it was mentioned in Endgame or anything. But the like border tribe and the Umbaku tribe still not 100% on them being happy-go-lucky with Wakanda. So it's like,
right.
Is there going to be some sort of? Is there still some conflict there between the three tribes, or?
Because you think Endgame would have like been that like, this is stupid. Like, there's bigger things out there. Like, we should be playing nice together.
Right. But then like we don't know, because like they sort of explained it away by being like, oh well, T'Challa's part of this royal family, and so they're in charge of Wakanda, but M'Baku really thinks that they should be in charge of Wakanda, and the border tribe is like, I don't really remember why they were upset, but they were upset. So it's like, are you guys just upset to be upset, or are you upset
Yeah.
and like there's some sort of line that's going to be crossed with the introduction of Namor and Atlantis coming to attack? Like, or are you all going to work together again? Or is it more like the other two tribes are like, hey, deal with your own problem. Like, don't bring that water over here.
I'd love to see more stories there. Even like more stories within like the fact that they all have spies everywhere. Like what's going on there? That kind of goes into the idea of like this like little short story show, like for like the CIA getting debriefed on all things that are, outside the norm. But like, what are all these spies doing? And does each team, like crew, like each place like have their own set of spies, or is
Right.
it all just within like the primary leadership?
Yeah, and I get that, like, sometimes you just have to introduce people, right? You just have to introduce Atlantis and Namor, because there's no, like, going back and slipping in, like, little bits here and there of mentions or anything like that. But it's crazy that now we're at a point where this entire civilization is going to appear and attack Wakanda. And maybe, who knows? Maybe the first hour of this movie is build up an explanation of like why there may be beef between Atlantis and Wakanda. But also just going off of how most of the series and movies have gone lately, it seems like they don't do that. They just kind of take for granted that we know who Namor is, or that they assume people know who Namor is, and it's more exciting for him to show up battling Wakanda than it would be to like explain why he has beef with Wakanda, or why, I think the design for the Atlanteans looks awesome. Like, super cool, but it looks super like Mayan, Aztec,
Yeah.
South American looking. And so it looks really cool, but I wonder if they're going to like explain like where Atlantis is or was, or
Hopefully,
If they're
that's,
just
I guess
like-
that's the question is like, are they going to open this more on the very heavy emotional side with, tribute and funeral, or is it going to open up more to show the connection of like, because again, going back to the trailers, the little that we've seen, like we know there should be moments of like Namor being born and growing up, and are we going to see like what the actual conflict is, what's going to set him on this specific path?
Right. Or is it just going to be like, this is Namor and he's mad because I think, I don't remember 100%, but I think Namor is mad because Atlantis was going to be the like most powerful city, but then Wakanda got the vibranium because of the meteor, and so Wakanda became the most powerful city and like didn't save Atlantis from sinking. I think that feels familiar, but I could also be wrong. But I think that's the story that like would maybe be the conflict. But again, we don't really know.
Don't know
Could
yet.
also, yeah.
Unless we can, if we can all go catch a midnight show, like it's like every fiber in me right now is just like, I want to go. But do I want to go? But it's probably all sold out shows tonight. So anyway,
I'm just going to stay off Twitter.
yeah.
Twitter, Facebook, everything.
All of it.
I think, okay.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, for some reason, I never see like spoilers for movies and stuff pop up on my Facebook. I think it's because most of my friends are my age and older. And so they're not really into the whole just posting spoilers left and right about things. I don't know. I don't worry about being on Facebook and Instagram the way that I worry about being on Twitter.
Same.
I see so much stuff against my will on Twitter.
Right. Facebook's like the place where more people are like just wanting recommendations, like, hey, I need new shows to watch, or they'll generally just ask like, hey, how is this? Twitter's like the polar opposite.
Twitter's like, I haven't seen it and I hate it.
Well, I know we're all excited. I'm sure some of you listening to this have already seen it. And so you'll be like, you idiots, you don't even know. This is the story. We know. But we'll find out. And you'll have to listen to our episode next week where we can talk about it, because we'll all have seen it and be in the know and have even more questions, because I feel like that's all that ever happens when we watch something for answers is it answers one question and gives us like 30 more. One thing that I mentioned at the beginning that I wanted to bring up one more time just to kind of gauge what you guys think. So in the comics, when Namor uses the Phoenix Force to destroy Wakanda, do we think that that is going to be something that is mentioned in this movie at all? Since I know we're like, they're slipping mutants in, they're like throwing stuff in there. We've already had 2 Dark Phoenix movies, so like I don't know that they want to do that again.
Yeah. I'm on the side where I could see it building up to that, and maybe that's what they do to bring in like potentially Doctor Doom or whatever, where it's kind of building up to like, okay, we're going to go take Wakanda down for good.
Okay.
That's where I think it could go.
Okay. I was thinking about it because I was like, I feel like they did a really good job introducing, like going back to Civil War, they did a really good job of introducing Spider-Man without giving a Spider-Man's backstory like in your face again. And I want to know if that's the direction they're going to take with the X-Men, since we've had basically like 2 X-Men origin stories. So them introducing X-Men again would be a 3rd time that they're doing this origin story for X-Men. So I'm hoping that maybe we get some newer X-Men or some like lesser known X-Men and we can do their origin stories. But the base, like core X-Men at the mansion is more of like a loose mention of things that they've done in the past and move on and like not revisit those stories again, because it's like there's so many other cool stories we could do. I mean, we have Wanda. They could easily kick off mutants with House of M and go from there. Like we were set up for these new stories that we haven't heard before. So like I really don't want like the Dark Phoenix saga again. So I don't know.
Another question is, could we potentially see like Bucky?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I would be down for
like
that.
He lived there for what, like 2 years, 3 years, something?
Yeah.
So
surely like he's definitely got some ties there. So it's one of those like, could they, call in help from him or I don't know. I'm hopeful we can see some other familiar faces.
It'd be great even if they just had like in the background of Shuri's workshop, if they just had like a silver arm with a star on it.
Yeah.
Like that'd be cool. That'd be good enough for me. Just feel like, oh yeah, maybe they're like working on Bucky's new arm. I'd be down for that.
New shield for new cap.
Yeah, exactly. Adamantium shield.
Oh, there we go.
So definitely get pumped if you're not already pumped, because like I don't know how you couldn't be. The movie looks like it's gonna be great. please, if you see it within the first week, don't spoil anything. We will do a discussion. I don't know how we'll do spoiler free. We'll try our best to do spoiler free discussion for a little bit, and then we'll do a spoiler warning before we get into it next week. So if you haven't seen it by next Friday, don't listen to our episode and be like, you guys ruined it. I'll tell you right now, there will be spoilers. So join us next week for that. And as far as a question for this week, I was trying to think of one earlier, but I honestly am just a little too excited to see this movie, and I couldn't think of a question that didn't sound like last week's question. So unless either of you have a question for this week.
Well, I mean, the only other thing that's kind of I'm curious about, intrigued about is, and I bring this up a lot, but like Black Panther 1 had such influence from anime. And I think that's why I get so excited about watching it is like, and I think it's even this came from like, Michael B, but like, I mean, when you see Michael B early on, he basically looks like Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. And I know his whole outfit was influenced from that. And like, really, when you watch it and you look at it, it's basically like Vegeta versus Goku and that whole dynamic that you get in Dragon Ball Z. So, my general curiosity and question is like, will this have any sort of anime influence as well? Or is it going to be something completely different?
You know what's funny? I see a lot of people talking about they hope that Riri gets her, I guess in one of the Ironheart series, she has like an anime-inspired suit. And people are really hoping that that's the suit that we get. So It's funny that you say that because if they do stick sort of with the anime theme, maybe we will get the anime Riri Ironheart suit. I mean, I've seen the picture of it. It looks cool.
Yeah.
So here's hoping. I want that thing where like all the missiles fly out of it and all we see is like all the smoke trails. That's like anime 101.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So join us next week. We'll talk about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Almost just called it Black Panther, but we've already seen that. And then kind of talk about what's next, and hopefully don't have too long a break between this and the next.
We'll have holiday special coming up too. Don't forget about that.
That's true. That's true. But it's not enough. That's only like one thing, right? It's just like one episode. Yeah. I need a series. Give me like a meaty, like 22 episode, half-hour episode.
My offer for us to cover Disenchanted still stands.
Yeah. Well, and we also have to do, we have to figure out how to squeeze in Daredevil at some point. There's like 3 seasons of that. So no shortage. And we'll also continue our X-Men watch through because we need to be ready for Deadpool 2 when it comes out in 2025 or whatever.
Sorry.
It's funny because I keep seeing this picture for it, and it's like it's the Deadpool logo with like the Wolverine slash through it. But then there's another one where it's the Deadpool logo and half of it's Deadpool and half of it's Wolverine. And it just says Deadpool. And every time I see that, I think Deadpool 2 because there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
And so I keep making that mistake. I'm like, I can't wait for Deadpool 2. And I'm like, it's not. It's 3. I just keep thinking 2 because there's 2 of that. They're tricking me.
It's go watch the latest interview with Ryan Reynolds on Jimmy Fallon because it does get brought up. But it's like so just like, he's just kind of like, yep, he's on board. It's cool, yeah. It's so like,
we all knew, right? There was no way he wasn't going to be a part of it. Their friendship surpasses the licensing rights of Marvel and Sony.
It surpasses everything that Kang has conquered.
On that note, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye.